Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of TEW 2020 WWE here. As today we continue on in July, continue on towards our end of the month premium live events, NXT Takeover Chicago and Crown Jewel, which will play host to the King of the Ring and Queen's Crown final. This week we continue with the King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournaments, finishing up the quarterfinals on Raw, NXT and Smackdown respectively. Next week the semis, and then we go on to find out who's actually making it into the final triple threat matches. So without further ado, oh god, that's how this episode's going to go, is it? Without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Kicking off things as always with another episode of Monday Night Raw, which gets underway with MJF making his way to the ring, and MJF is not happy, to say the least. He says that he deserved to win Money in the Bank. He was at the top of that ladder. He sent the likes of Johnny Gargano, of Andrade, of Seth Rollins, AJ Styles flying and packing home. And he had his hands on that briefcase. It was his moment. It was his time. And then he was screwed. Screwed by a man who shouldn't have been in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Screwed by a man who lost his opportunity, who failed to qualify, and then was handed his chance in a triple threat match. When all the spots had been taken, when the qualification was finished, he was handed a spot in Money in the Bank, really. Kevin Owens. He shouldn't have been in the match, but there he was anyway in the match, costing me my shot, my chance. Okay, and now here I was, MJF, thinking that the management at my last company was bad, that the management at my last company were the most incapable, incompetent people available for this job. But I guess I'm mistaken, because Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, the whole goddamn circus down in Stamford clearly are running a hell of a show around here for 100. When obviously not very happy about these comments, out comes Triple H leading his boys, the WWE Champion Kevin Owens and Adam Cole, and Triple H getting in the ring with them. MJF's still not happy, and Triple H saying that, Maxwell, I can see you're angry, and maybe I can understand, okay? Now, MJF, let me talk to you, okay? You're good, right? And I'm just saying, oh, I'm not good, I'm great. I am the best. Triple H saying, exactly. You are one of the best. Already made such a big impact here in the WWE. So you don't have to fight us. The only difference between you and Kevin Owens and Adam Cole here, really, is timing. Timing, because they were here long ago in NXT with me, but you weren't. But still, if you had been around in NXT with me all those years ago, maybe you would be standing here by my side right now. So what do you say, Max? You don't have to fight, just join us, okay? Triple H making the proposition, and MJ kind of laughing and saying, oh, you know what, Hunter? You know what? Okay. I'll join you when you give me that. And pointing to the WWE Championship over Kevin Owens' shoulder, Kevin laughing and nodding his head no. And Triple H says, well, I can't do that for you. And I'm just saying, of course you can't. No, because you can pretend you do. You don't have any real power around here, do you? Now, the only one wearing the pants in your relationship is your wife, isn't it, Stephanie? She's the real big boss around here, Hunter. And you can come out here in your fancy looking but actual cheap-ass suits with your little boys for protection, because you're this washed-up old has-been who can't go toe-to-toe in this ring anymore. But you don't make the decisions, really, do ya? No. Because Triple H is just a triple joke. Adam Cole taking exception to stepping forward, not happy with MJF, the two men squaring off. Adam Cole issuing the challenge, and MJF saying, you know what? That sounds good to me. And Triple H saying, okay then. Next week, MJF, Adam Cole. And MJF saying, next week, I'm going to kick this dumbass's teeth in. And then at Crown Jewel, I'm taking what I deserve. For a 100, MJF taking great exception to the events of Money in the Bank and wanting the WWE title. Next week, MJF, Adam Cole in what is actually just sure to be a banger, isn't it, quite honestly? As let's just get into the action here, kicking off things with the Queen's Crown Tournament. Last week, who qualified? Kairi Sane and Gigi Dolan qualified. And this week, we'll find out the other two qualifiers, and we kick things off with JC Jane versus Zoe Stark. Last week, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane's partner, and Fallon Henley, who has a somewhat alliance with Zoe Stark recently, went head-to-head, and Gigi Dolan came out on top. And this week, those partners going head-to-head, JC Jane, Zoe Stark, and in the end, it is Zoe Stark who comes out on top, hitting the belly-to-back GTS she does for the victory for a 44, fine enough. 54 Stark, 45 Jane, not the best, but a lot of building up needed. So I don't mind too much. Fine match enough, as Zoe Stark is the superstar who advances into the semi-final of the Queen's Crown Tournament. Lovely little start to things here. As then we have a little advertisement playing. Advertising also next week. Montez Ford, the Intercontinental Champion, and Damian Priest, the Hardcore Champions, will return to Raw. They've been off TV the last few weeks, getting a little rest in celebration, but also we've been so busy with King of the Ring and Queen's Crown, there hasn't been any space for it really, but they're back next week for a 94, looking to find out their own paths towards Crown Jewel. Lovely. Before speaking of Crown Jewel, we move towards King of the Ring next up, with a match between one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions, Angel Garza, and one half of the former Raw Tag Champions that he beat to get those Raw Tag titles in Matt Riddle. Last week, Matt Riddle's partner, Pete Dunne, qualified. Matt Riddle looking to join him in the semi-finals. He's going to have to beat Angel Garza to get hit. Angel Garza looking to win King of the Ring again. He won it last year. He went to SummerSlam and won the WWE title. He'd love to do that again, obviously. Can he? Well, his first step was Riddle, and in the end, Angel Garza versus Matt Riddle, your winner into the King of the Ring semi-final is Angel Garza, managing to get the wing clipper onto Matt Riddle in the end to pick up the victory for an 84. Disappointing 94 Riddle, 86 Garza. Both did really, really well, but the segment rating, it was a lack of psychology really brought this down, because if you just average it out even, it goes to a 90. But psychology clearly just brought it down a lot, which is disappointing, but oh well. What are you going to do? They had great chemistry, and that helped at the very least, as Angel Garza advances into the semi-final of the King of the Ring tournament. These tournaments really filling up. 2 more matches in the Raw brackets later tonight. Beautiful. As I feel like I say beautiful a lot. I'll try and find other adjectives for you to describe things. As then we go to some Chase University. Little training segments. Andre Chase training Edris and Arfe, Malik Blade, and Bodie Hayward there supporting as well. Malik Blade from what's more like hands-on training. Bodie Hayward, waving his flag, doing some cheering. Andre Chase training Edris and Arfe. Edris and Arfe wanting to train to get to the point of challenging Apollo Crews, and Andre Chase obliging after hearing what Chase said about what Crews said about his university. They just do, they train speed, agility, all that. Chase University, go Chase. In the end, the segment ending, just laughing wanted to go on. Andre saying, we're going to have to pause here. They're in the arena at this point, Final training, someone was running to the arena from Chase University campus. And Edris and Arfe wanting to go on, saying, what's next? Andre saying, we're going to have to pause here. Edris and Arfe saying, why? And he says, Andre saying, we got to go to ringside and we got to support the newest student entering Chase University, as walks into the scene, Chase University's newest student, Thea Hale. Thea Hale, the final mystery competitor in the Queen's Crown Tournament, taking on Naomi in the next match of the night. Thea Hale joining Chase U. Just a big fan. How could you not be? A lot of potential for the young superstar, 27. Fine segment. They've all got low pops and all that, but build them up. I do like Chase U, to be honest with you, if you haven't noticed. As then, before we have that match, we go to the Toxic Lounge. The Miss Money in the Bank Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan in the Queen's Crown semi-final, and JC Jane a bit banged up. But Mandy Rose and Gigi Dolan taking the time to provide some taunting, doing their talking about how Stark and Henley are just nobodies, and Gigi Dolan's already beat Henley's ass, and if it comes to it, she'll beat Starks as well on her way to winning the Queen's Crown, much like Mandy Rose won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Gigi Dolan and Mandy Rose say that maybe at SummerSlam will be both their moments, and they'll both go win women's titles at SummerSlam before inevitably Gigi Dolan and JC Jane also go and collect those women tag team titles. Maybe Mandy Rose goes pick up that $1 million title she used to have, and Toxic Attraction have all the gold. For an 80, just a nice little promo from the Toxic Lounge. Want to get the Miss Money in the Bank on the card, and Mandy Rose predicting a big future for Toxic Attraction to come. As then we do have the match in the Queen's Crown tournament between Naomi and Thea Hale. Yep, I had to double check that, but yep. Naomi versus Thea Hale, and Thea Hale in her debut. Naomi underestimating her, as you'd expect, but Thea Hale giving as good as she gets, getting some bursts, getting some good spots and some good moments. Gets a near 2 fall at one point that nearly has it, the crowd fully behind her. But in the end, it is Naomi who comes out on top. It is not Thea Hale's day today, but her day will come. This is just her debut match. This is just her first match. There will be many, many more to come for her in this company. But it's Naomi who advances to the Queen's Crown semi-final for now. So the Queen's Crown semi-finals are Gigi Dolan versus Kairi Sane and Naomi versus Zoe Stark. All 4 women going to be wanting to win those matches, get into the Raw final, win that, get the Queen's Crown final, win the Queen's Crown, get the women's title match at SummerSlam. But who will do it? We'll have to wait and see. 61 for the match of your career, 66 Naomi, 23 Thea. Pretty good debut for Thea. No issues, no complaints. I am pleased. As then, it's time for a moment of bliss. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross arranging this a moment of bliss celebration for her friend Alexa. The ring's all suited out in the old moment of bliss set style with the chairs and all that. There are some gifts boxed there. And Alexa saying to Nikki, you didn't have to do all of this. Nikki saying she wanted to, for her friend. She hadn't seen her for so long. She wanted to do this. A trip down memory road for them. They go through the gifts. The first one is like a bedazzled microphone and coffee cup, back to those moment of bliss stage right at the very start of, when Nikki Cross and Alexa were getting together. You go forward, it's an old shirt, one of their old shirts from the WWE Sharp, probably not available right now, from their old tag team, You go forward even more, she opens one of the boxes, and it's an applesauce bottle from their old team name, Bliss Cross Applesauce. Just lovely. Lovely moments in this moment of bliss celebrations. It brings a tear to your eye. Nikki Cross saying, so proud of Alexa and how far she came, improving, in her words, that she didn't need Nikki Cross. Alexa happy, and then just like, what? And Nikki saying that you made it very clear when we got drafted separately, when you got drafted to Raw, you didn't need me, and so I guess I don't need you. And then she takes the bedazzled microphone and smashes it into Alexa's face. Alexa going down, Nikki beating down on her, gets the applesauce and pours it over her or something. For a 95. I mean, you could probably guess how this was going to go. Nikki Cross, not happy with Alexa. What's the words I'm looking for? Not needing her, I guess. They were drafted separately. Nikki not really getting any moments to shine. Alexa getting her moment in the end and becoming women's champion. And Nikki not happy with that. 95, good segment. Then we go backstage once again for a second week in a row to Drake Maverick providing a medical update. This time on Drew McIntyre. Drake Maverick says that he is disappointed and sad to have to announce that following the brutal assault by Sheamus, who has been fined as things stand and suspended, attacked Drew McIntyre last week and took him out. Drew McIntyre is unable to compete and so will have to be taken out of the King of the Ring semi-final. Now he says that his first call of action was offering Pete Dunne just a bye to the final because it was going to be Pete Dunne's opponent, but he said Pete Dunne said no. Pete Dunne said that he is a fighter. He says he doesn't want to just jump right ahead to the final against one man. Pete Dunne said that if he's got to do it and he can't fight Drew, then give him both of them. And so Drake Maverick announces that in the King of the Ring final for Raw, it will be a triple threat match. It will be Pete Dunne versus Angel Garza versus either Chris Jericho or Randy Orton. I forgot to put Randy in the segment. It will be Jericho or Orton. Whoever wins the main event next up. And they will fight in 2 weeks' time, I do believe, in Raw's King of the Ring final. For an 84, disappointing announcement. Wish Drew the best in getting back to health, but he will miss the King of the Ring semi-final. And Pete Dunne wanting to fight, so Dunne, Garza, Jericho / Orton. Big triple threat match. But who will be the final superstar in it? Let's go find out. Next up, main event, Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton in the King of the Ring quarter-final matchup. Two WWE superstars with a lot of, history with each other, both been in WWE for a long time. Jericho just coming back, Orton here the whole time, both looking to get to that King of the Ring final now, and then win the King of the Ring tournament. Who will get the chance to, in the end, your winner, and advancing in King of the Ring is Randy Orton. RKO to Chris Jericho, gets the win in the end for an 80. Jericho goes for the Judas effect, Orton ducks underneath, and then hits the RKO. Good match, 63 Jericho, 75 Orton, both doing well. And it will be Angel Garza versus Randy Orton versus Pete Dunne in the King of the Ring Raw final. A big triple threat match. Beautiful. After the match, Jericho and Orton showing respect to each other. No harm done. All one's a face. Jericho turned face at Money in the Bank. They shake hands for a 91. Lovely moment before Jericho's leaving. Out comes Angel Garza, Raw tag title in hand, Orton with his, and both the Raw tag team champions just staring down at each other and just kind of smiling a little bit, working well together as partners, but also both going to give everything they've got to be the better man to get to that King of the Ring final. And then rushes down and slides into the ring. Also, Pete Dunne, one of the men they beat to become Raw Tag Champs, who stands between them. These two men plus Riddle were in the tag match for the tag titles and Money in the Bank. And now these three men alone without Riddle will compete for a spot in the King of the Ring final for a 100. Really good main event, really good post. Good episode of Raw. Hopefully this King of the Ring Raw final will be good. Orton, Garza, and Dunne. Fingers crossed. Overall, Raw gets a 89. Good show. Moving stuff along nicely. Queen's Crown. Jesus Christ, I always get that wrong. Queen's Crown semi-final set. King of the Ring final set. Moving things also nicely in other directions. Next week, MJF versus Adam Cole. Hopefully that'll be really good. Fingers crossed. That's it for Raw, though. As next up, we continue to build up to not only just the King of the Ring and Queen's Crown final, but also NXT TakeOver Chicago. With, of course, another episode of NXT. And NXT gets underway with the Golden Gods coming out to the ring. LA Knight, Alfonso Bourbon, Socrates Doris, and Cameron Grimes. And LA Knight is in a very happy mood still. Beating heart and soul of NXT, holds himself the new NXT champion, but he isn't allowed to talk for long until he is interrupted by Johnny Gargano. Last week, LA Knight interrupting Johnny Gargano's King of the Ring celebration at the end of the show. And this week, Johnny Gargano interrupting LA Knight. And Johnny telling LA that he's been thinking about last week a lot, okay? Him coming out, interrupting, all of that. And he didn't like it. He really didn't like it. Okay, and he says that he's been in NXT for a long time. Okay, he's left, he's come back, he's been in and around it for a long time, okay? And he says that he's seen jackasses like LA Knight come in and come out of here, even hold that NXT championship. And Johnny says that he never has and he never will have a problem with kicking jackasses like that's ass. Johnny Gargano issuing the challenge to LA Knight laughing and saying that, you know what? As the face of NXT, the NXT champion, I will grace you people with a match. Official Ladies Night main event, LA Knight versus Johnny Gargano. It will hopefully be a really good match. 100 for this opening promo at the very least. And hopefully a good match between all of these people. Well, not all of these people, just Johnny Gargano and LA Knight later on, won't it? Queen's Crown time, then kicking things off in the Queen's Crown tournament tonight with the prodigy Roxanne Perez taking on one half of Buffy Dean, your boyfriend Persia Pirotta. The other half, Tiffany, losing to Candice last week, and then Caustic Shotzi, and now Persia having her own try. But in the end, it's Roxanne Perez who comes out on top. Roxanne Perez advances into the Queen's Crown tournament semi-final, where she will take on the winner of a match later tonight between her 2001 partner and teammate Cora Jade and Jade Cargill, the Battle of the Jades. 43 for the match, 50 Persia, 46 per Roxanne. Okay, a match, all things considered with the people in it. No real issues or complaints there. As then we go backstage to Killer Braxton interviewing Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes next week in King of the Ring against Johnny Gargano. Carmelo Hayes saying that if Johnny wants to go get distracted, then okay. If he wants to underestimate you, then okay. A lot of people made that mistake. If he wants to go and play his games of LA Knight and whatever, then go right ahead. But next week, I'm shooting and I ain't missing. And Melo comes out on top. And I could win this King of the Ring tournament. And then when I go step up to LA Knight, if I want to, then he'll have that NXT championship on the line. For 65, Carmelo Hayes. To say, you know what, Johnny, you want to get distracted by LA Knight? Go on then, mate. But I'm winning King of the Ring, so I don't care. For that 65. Good little segment. As then next up, speaking of King of the Ring, it's time for another match in the King of the Ring tournament. It is Anthony Ogogo of Destined for Greatness, Carmelo Hayes group, taking on Cesaro. Two big guys, two strong guys. And in the end, in the King of the Ring tournament, your winner here is Cesaro. Cesaro coming out on top in the end. I do believe Anthony Ogogo's first singles loss, maybe? Unsure, but, he doesn't need to be this big, dominant, unstoppable person. You don't need that presentation. So, if you're going to lose, Cesaro, a very worthy person to lose. Cesaro, very tough, very strong. 73 for the match, 68 Cesaro, 62 Anthony Ogogo. Good match. Happy with that. As then, just a bit of respect after the match. The two men, they shake hands. Lovely moment. No issues for a 75. As then, we go to some footage saying earlier this week. And the footage shows R-Truth. Just, out walking around. He's having a good time. He's got a hoodie on, zipped up. And he's having a good time. He walks past an alley. And he's kind of camera shot down the alley. So you see him walking past. And then you see his head slowly pop back around the corner. And on the floor, you've got... you've got Candy on the floor. On R-Truth. Having a... if I must moment. And stopping and going back and going down the alley, picking up the pieces of candy along his way until you get to the end, and it's a bit of candy, a lot of candy, and you see like a big box over it on like a Wile E. Coyote style trap, and R-Truth kind of sees it and he's like, no, I seen. R-Truth kind of seeing it, and he's like, I ain't falling for that, okay? I've seen the Looney Tunes. I see how this go down. I ain't falling for that. And then out of the background, you see Tony the Angel appear. He's like, oh, you know what, boys? I really thought he would fall for that. Oh, well. You just want to... And then Otis and Tucker rush over, take out R-Truth, toss him into the back of a car. The boot of a car, there you go. And then we cut, and we go to a warehouse. R-Truth's blindfold ripped off. And he's like, what the hell y'all want from me? And Tony says, we want that 24/7 championship. And R-Truth says, what the hell is the 24/7 championship? Okay, you can have it. You can take it. I don't know what you're talking about, crazy people. And Tony's just kind of face-palming as Otis leans in and whispers something to him. And Tony says, we want your baby. And R-Truth's like, no, not my baby. Just kind of trying to get out of the chair he's kind of taped into at the thought of his baby. And Tony walks up to him and undoes his hoodie, and you see the 24/7 title around his waist. And Tony's like, you're going to give it to us? And R-Truth's like, no, you can't have my baby. I just got her back. You can't have her. And Tony's like, okay, Harland, get him. Then you have R-Truth screaming and pleading as R-Truth, as Harland slowly approaches him. Then Harland finally gets to him. R-Truth closes his eyes, and then you just have Harland reach a finger out and push over R-Truth, the chair falling backwards. And then Tony walks over, puts his foot on top of R-Truth. A referee appears as if by magic and counts the 1, 2, 3. Tony D'Angelo wins the 24/7 championship. For 56, R-Truth, in shock about, probably more so about losing his baby than the kidnapping, honestly. But either way, Tony D'Angelo is the new 24/7 champion for that 56. Tony's done it. Good for Tony. So we all do love that. As then next up, I got to get out that bloody voice. Back to the Queen's Crown tournament. Cora Jade versus Jade Cargill. The winner will take on Roxanne Perez next week. Will it be Roxanne Perez's tag team partner Cora Jade, or will it be Jade Cargill? And in the end, Anthony Ogogo of Destined for Greatness lost earlier tonight, and Roxanne Perez of Team 2001 won earlier tonight, but we flipped those around as it's Jade Cargill of Destined for Greatness who comes out on top for a 55. 49 Jade, 48, I got to specify, I don't know, 49 Jade Cargill, 48 Cora Jade. There you go. As Jade Cargill advances into the Queen's Crown Tournament semi-final, where she will face Roxanne Perez. She's beat Cora Jade, and she'll be looking to beat Cora Jade's partner, won't she? So, good for her. Jade Cargill coming out on top after the match. Roxanne Perez rushes down to just check on her partner and friend, Cora Jade. And then she stops and turns around, and Jade Cargill's looking at her, and the two women just... I put... go toe-to-toe, because they're not going face-to-face. There's a height difference there, but they go toe-to-toe for a 60. Good match, good post. Happy with that. As then we go to Bayley anointing herself the locker room leader. She's the role model everyone wants to look up to, or even to go, Guy said she did. And she is looking forward to getting the NXT Women's Championship, and that title that goes with being the locker room leader of NXT all over again for a 74. Bayley continuing her reign of, what's the word I'm looking for? I was about to say terror, but I think that depends on your view of it, doesn't it? Bayley declaring herself head of NXT's women's locker room. There you go. As then, it's time for the final tournament matchup from NXT, the final in the King of the Ring tournament, or the final quarterfinal of the King of the Ring tournament. There you go. Andrade versus Ricochet. Don't know why I said it like that. Yeah, in the King of the Ring semi-final. Quarterfinal, Jesus Christ. The winner takes on Cesaro next week for his spot in the final, and in the end, Andrade of Legado versus Ricochet. Your winner advancing to the King of the Ring semi-final here on NXT is Andrade. Andrade hitting La Sombra on Ricochet in the end for an 88. 96 Andrade, 84 Ricochet. Match got the crowd buzzing, thankfully. I put it to steal the show, and clearly they did. A lack of psychology, sadly, which probably brought it down a little bit because, a 90 is an average of the two ratings they got. 96 Andrade, 84 Ricochet, but still 88. Really good for the match. So I won't, I'm not one to complain about getting 88s, to be honest with you, but it's Andrade who advances to the semi-final of the King of the Ring tournament and completes NXT's lineup of people in that semi-final. Speaking of, next week on NXT, in the King of the Ring semi-finals, it's Johnny Gargano versus Carmelo Hayes, and it's Andrade versus Cesaro. Those four superstars in the semi-finals, any of them can deservedly get to that King of the Ring final. Whilst on the women's side of things, it is Candice LeRae and Mickie James, and it's Jade Cargill versus Roxanne Perez. One half, Candice LeRae and Mickie James, more experienced superstars. The other, Jade Cargill and Roxanne Perez, more newer, up-and-coming superstars who will get to the final from there. A lot of other questions that I am looking forward to answering, honestly. 80 for that, for those advertisements for next week. But for tonight, we end things, as announced earlier, with Johnny Gargano taking on LA Knight, the NXT champion, declaring himself the beat heart and soul of NXT. Gargano taking offense to that because it's Gargano. He's been the heart and soul in NXT for a long time and he's just got back. And in the end, good match between the pair. Goes about 14-ish minutes. LA Knight having enough of Johnny Gargano. The referee down a little bit. Knight getting the NXT championship. Waiting for Gargano to get up to hit with it. He winds it back before rushing forward. When out of nowhere, Chad Gable jumps on the apron and pulls the NXT Championship down. No cheating round here for you, Mr. LA Knight. LA Knight in shock. Chad Gable dropping the NXT Championship ringside saying no. And then LA Knight turning around into Gargano. Super kick. Roll up. 1, 2, 3. Johnny Gargano comes out on top over LA Knight here for a 90. Really good matchup. I put it about 14.5 minutes. Which, yeah, just a nice little main event for the two. 95 Gargano, 86 LA Knight. Both doing really well. LA Knight sadly off his game, but we move. He was off his game because Chad Gable distracted him at the end there. There you go. As it is, that win for Johnny Gargano for the 90, and then after the match, Gargano gets to celebrate in LA Knight. Can't believe it. Chad Gable making a little return. He took last week off, but he's back, and he's immediately back in LA Knight's business for a 100. Good main event. Good of NXT. A lot going on, as this week's episode of NXT gets an overall rating of 91. Very happy with that. Good show. A lot of things moving nicely. Tony D'Angelo's got the 24/7 championship now. Oh, what are you going to do? You can't forget about that, huh? Big King of the Ring matches set for next week. Gargano's beat Knight as well. Gable cost Knight. So things moving very quickly towards NXT TakeOver Chicago. Remember, at the end of this month, NXT has their own premium live event. As NXT has come and gone with another episode, and we have one more show, of course, to get through before the end of this episode of this video. And so without further ado, let's just jump into it with another episode of Smackdown. And Smackdown gets underway with Thaddeus Bullard coming down to the ring, storming down to the ring even, with Paul Heyman in tow. And Bullard goes to ringside, he grabs a mic, he grabs a steel chair, into the ring, plants the chair down, sits on it, and just waits a minute, mic in hand. And then he looks up at Paul and he says, "Where is he?" And Heyman, flabbergasted a bit, he says he's not here. And Bullard says, "What?" And Heyman says he isn't here. And Bullard says that I know. "You must be kidding me, Paul. I know you're not much of a joker, but I know that you must be kidding with me right now because I told you. I told you to bring him to me, to bring me Brock Lesnar." And Heyman saying, Mr. Bullard, that's not a good idea, okay? That's not a good idea right now. And Bullard saying that I will tell you what a good idea is. You don't run this ship, I do. And when I tell you to do something, Paul, you do it. When I tell you to bring me Brock Lesnar, you bring him to me. You do it, Paul. Bullard getting up, grabbing the steel chair, and just starts smashing it into the ropes. Bring him to me, Paul. Bring me Brock Lesnar. Bullard having enough, dropping the chair, rubbing his face, grabbing the mic, and then just saying, you know what, Paul? You don't want to do this to me. You don't want to do this for me. You don't want to listen to me. Then okay. You don't want to bring me Brock Lesnar, then fine. I'll just have to go get him myself then. For a 95, Bullard storming out the ring, Heyman chasing after him. Bullard saying that if Heyman won't bring him Brock Lesnar, he'll just get him himself. Which, you know, I personally wouldn't hunt down Brock Lesnar, but, you know, Bullard gonna Bullard at the end of the day. As then, we continue on SmackDown with the Queen's Crown Tournament. The first matchups of this evening taking place between Chelsea Green and the Doudrop. And in the end here, they were advancing into the semi-final and joining SmackDown's other Queen's Crown semi-finalists, which are Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan, is Doudrop hitting the elevator, drop onto Chelsea Green and picking up the victory. Deonna losing last week, Chelsea losing this week. Not a good tournament for Deonna's posse. 61 for the match is fine. 44 Chelsea Green, 60 Doudrop. That's okay. As Doudrop does advance into the semi-final of the Queen's Crown Tournament. Lovely for Doudrop. Good moment for her. As then we go backstage to Kayla Braxton interviewing Natalya, and Natalya wanting Ronda Rousey, saying that, you know, Ronda's kind of been skating by as Women's Universal Champion so far, but even Natalya, you know, as her former mentor and, you know, superstar she looked up to, feels like it's time for Ronda to get a real challenge that Natalya can give her. For 61, Natalya calling a shot, wanting a shot at Ronda for that Women's Universal Championship. And Ronda, you know, friends with Natalya probably would be amenable to that, you have to imagine. Before then, next up, we continue with the King's Crown, the King of the Ring tournament. The first match this evening, a big one, honestly. A former WWE champion, Kofi Kingston, takes on promising upcoming superstar Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker making his debut at Money in the Bank, answering Corbin's challenge and absolutely demolishing him. And as a SmackDown superstar, entering the King of the Ring tournament, and his first matchup, a really big test, honestly, against Kofi Kingston. Too many tag titles to name. Multiple, you know, mid-card and Continental US titles, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Kofi, a massive superstar, very good, very talented. Bron wanting to prove himself against this, what's the word? Much more experienced WWE superstar. And in the end, in the King of the Ring tournament semi-final, quarter-final here on SmackDown, your winner and advancing to the semi-final and joining AJ Styles and Solo Sikoa in the semis is Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker gets a massive win in his SmackDown debut, I want to say, pinning former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Kofi Kingston, hitting him with that, you know, that gorilla slam, power slam press thing, and getting a massive victory. Does Bron here for a 74. Pretty good match. 73 Kofi, 52 Bron Breakker. As Bron Breakker gets a massive win and advances into the semi-final of the King of the Ring tournament. Who will await him? We'll find out later tonight, but still, massive win here for Bron Breakker over Kofi Kingston. Good on him. Good on him. Proving he can go toe-to-toe with these experienced, incredibly talented superstars like Kofi. As then we go backstage to Deonna Purrazzo, not happy with Aaliyah Lana, Frankie Monet there as well. Chelsea Green there. She's very tired after her loss earlier. And Deonna not happy with Aaliyah. Last week, the last month or so, Aaliyah not so amenable to Deonna's, more heelish, cheaty ways. And Deonna tells Aaliyah that she needs to get with the program or get left behind. And Deonna and Lana and Frankie Monet walking off Chelsea Green, very tired, getting up though and following after them and leaving Aaliyah behind to think about what she's done for 71. Deonna issuing the ultimatum to Aaliyah. Get with the program or get left. And what will Aaliyah choose? We'll have to wait to find out on that front, I suppose. But for now, next up, Tyler Breeze comes out. He wants Joe Gacy, and Joe Gacy promised him a challenge this week. And Joe Gacy comes down to the ramp with his boys, Braun, Ethan, Steve, and Wesley. And Joe Gacy saying, Tyler, you have so much anger in you, and I want to help you get that out. So you want a challenge? I have found you one. Right here, right now, you will take on Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake. And Tyler Breeze is just incredibly angry at Control, at Joe Gacy, at all of them. And so he says, bring it. Bring them all. I don't care. I'm going to kick their asses. I'll kick whoever's ass you want. And then I'm kicking your ass. So Tyler Breeze versus the Forgotten Sons. And Forgotten Sons using the numbers advantage. But in the end, Tyler Breeze's pure anger and rage towards Control maybe sees him through as he does pick up the victory, hitting the Unprisia on Steve Cutler, taking Wesley Blake out before with a supermodel kick to the outside to take him out, and pitting Steve Cutler for the win for 62. 71 Tyler, 45 Wesley, 28 Steve. Good match. Tyler Breeze does pick up the victory after match. Tyler Breeze getting the mic. He wants Joe Gacy issuing the challenge. I want you. I don't want these people. I want you. And Joe saying, Tyler, you still have so much anger in you, and I'd love to help you get it out. So next week, I will find you another challenge here for a 62 again. Very consistent, these segments at the very least. Joe Gacy promising Tyler Breeze another challenge next week. Good. As then we continue on with the next match in the Queen's Crown Tournament. It is one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, Charlotte Flair, taking on 1/3 of No Mercy, Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville's been on a pretty good form, came up strong against Bianca and did come up strong against Ronda as well, but has picked up some big wins, like against Charlotte a few months back in the build-up to No Mercy, and looking to continue that on here in the Queen's Crown. Charlotte and Sonya both giving it everything, both wanting to get into that semi-final to join Becky and Liv, and Doudrop winner facing Doudrop next week. And in the end, Charlotte, got Sonya down on the mat, holding her legs, ready for the figure 4 leg lock, hooks the leg, turns around, and Sonya rolls her up for the 3. Sonya Deville advances into the Queen's Crown Tournament semi-final, where she will take on Doudrop next week for a 76. Decent match, 80 Charlotte, 79 Sonya. Happy with this, both women doing well. But it's Charlotte Flair is eliminated and Sonya Deville advances. Charlotte maybe a little too cocky after the match. She's shocked. She can't believe it. Sonya Deville advances. She is eliminated. Charlotte Flair coming up short again for an 82. Good. Things moving nicely as we have one more quarterfinal in all our tournaments this month. And it's the quarterfinal of the King of the Ring tournament. It is the former WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. This time last year he had it. Big E. He's back entering King of the Ring. And he's taking on Seth Rollins. 2 former world champions going at it in the King of the Ring tournament here. Seth Rollins may be a bit fresher. He's had more action in these recent months, and getting Money in the Bank just coming up short most recently as well. Whilst Big E hasn't appeared since WrestleMania, but back on it, into King of the Ring, wanting to move forward in it. Winner facing Braun Breaker next week. So either way, Bron Breakker beat one former world champion tonight against Kofi, and whatever happens, he'll face another next week. But who will it be? In the end, your winner, as Seth Rollins goes for the curb stomp, but gets picked up into the big ending, is Big E for a 95. Incredible match. Very, very happy. Really good King of the Ring matchup here, as you'd expect between these two guys. 92 Seth, 83 Big E, both doing really, really well. But in the end, it is Big E who advances into the King of the Ring semi-final. The Smackdown King of the Ring semi-finals. Big E, Bron Breakker, and AJ Styles Solo Sikoa. So both matches are former WWE World Heavyweight Champions. Former WWE World Champions in Big E and AJ, going head-to-head with these younger, upcoming, promising wrestlers in Solo Sikoa and Bron Breakker. Hopefully both really good matches next week. Fingers crossed. 95 for that, though. As after the match, Seth is shocked. He can't believe it. Out of King of the Ring. Where does he go now? He lost Money in the Bank. He lost King of the Ring. Where does he go now? Whilst out comes Bron Breakker. And him and Big E stare down. Bron Breakker, serious face on. Big E smiling. Ready for these big, meaty men slapping meat next week. Big stare down between these two big, tough, intimidating guys for an 82. Good. Really looking forward to that match between Big E and Bron Breakker. Because that would just be a banger, wouldn't it? That would be really good. Before, we have one more match this evening. As an advertised and announced last week, Roman Reigns, our tribal chief, the big dog, head of the table, taking on Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso interfering, got Money in the Bank, super kicking Roman Reigns, not letting him get to the ring, and him losing, him wanting his revenge on Jimmy Uso, saying he'll deal with Jimmy tonight, and then he'll deal with Keith Lee come Crown Jewel. And it's Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso. A lot of anger, a lot of aggression. Jimmy at Roman for kicking him out of the bloodline. Roman at Jimmy for getting in his business. And in the end, after a heated affair, quite expectedly, I'm sure, it is the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, with a spear to Jimmy Uso to finally put him away for an 87. Good main event. Not as good as Big E Seth, but Big E Seth is... No offense, Jimmy. You brought this down a bit. 92 Roman, 76 Jimmy. Big E Seth, amazing. Roman J, still very good with an 87, no complaints. Roman Reigns does put down Jimmy Uso in the end, though, kicking him out the ring. The tribal chief standing tall before basking in his glory. Out comes the Universal Champion Keith Lee. Roman Reigns says he was going to deal with Jimmy Uso, and then he wants Keith Lee. And he's dealt with Jimmy Uso, and so Keith Lee says, you want me? Here I am. Keith Lee coming down to the ring, getting in it. And then Keith Lee taking the Universal title off his shoulder, placing it on the mat between the two men, and just staring down. Keith Lee and Roman Reigns both standing over that Universal title between them, face to face, man to man, superstar to superstar for a 100. It's been building, and it looks like we may finally get Roman Reigns, Keith Lee, 1-on-1. Keith Lee's first main roster moment, really, that Survivor Series tag match part they had. Roman showing respect. It's a very different Roman Reigns, though, wanting to take that Universal title off Keith Lee. Can he do it? We'll have to wait and see. Overall, this episode of SmackDown gets us an 89. Good episode of SmackDown. Happy with that. Pleased. Good show. Happy. Another good week of action. All our quarterfinals are done in King of the Ring and Queen's Crown. Next week, the semis. Week after the finals. Then, episode after that is the premium live events that are NXT TakeOver Chicago and Crown Jewel. There you go. So a lot to look forward to. A lot going on. Beyond that, of course, SummerSlam, and even beyond that, you know, on the road to so many big things. A lot going on and a lot still to come. So I really hope you're enjoying. The semi-finals all set up at King of the Ring, Queen's Crown. Let me know in the comments down below who you want to / think's going to win the tournaments. What titles do you want to cash in on at SummerSlam? Let me know while you're down there. If you have enjoyed, I hope you have. Please do leave a like and subscribe for more. Go check out my new series on the channel, TEW 2020 NXT 2.0, booking NXT 2.0, clearly, starting with this week's special episode of NXT 2.0 IRL, the Great American Bash, and going from there. Big fan of NXT 2.0, and I think it's quite good, so just go check out episode 1 and see if you agree, and if you do, continue that series as well, why don't you? But yeah, go check that out, and as always, I just want to say thank you for watching.